and that would have been even worse for the American people. So I think they came together and made a good decision to stay there as long as they did. I mean, Bush made the terrible decision going in there, and it would have been even a worse decision to pull out at the time that they were talking about that, and that the Democrats took over. Both parties would have been a terrible time to pull out of Iraq, just because the violence and the terrorists was running so rampant. And we have to make peace with the Iraq people, and Americans have to clean up some of the mess they made, to help rebuild their infrastructure, you know, to get the people there back on their feet, to get some kind of stability in that region, in Iraq. So it's going to take a while before we're out of there. Bush has made a mistake that's going to cost the next president that comes in some time over there. So it's just tough to do right now.
But I don't want to let them off the hook that easy, though. I mean, because do they? I mean, really, do they have any culpability when you say, okay, Bush got them in there, right? But now the Democrats came in, like I said, on the mandate saying we're going to get our people out of Iraq. But they haven't done anything in regards to cutting back funding or anything of that nature to even gradually pull the troops out. And it's almost as like they got in. Well, I won't say it's almost like they got in, because it's exactly like that. They got in, and things are still going the same way they've been going. Now, with these elections going on, they're talking about it again, bringing the troops out of Iraq, but there is no action on the part of the Democrats, just like there was no action on the part of the Republicans when they were controlling both houses of Congress.
Right. Well, one of the big things that came out after we invaded Iraq, and we seen it was a mess with the Bush administration, and not to bail out the Democrats, is that they had no exit plan. You know, for any war, anytime we've gone to any war, you've always had an exit plan.
Right.
We went in there, and, you know, 4 or 5 months later, you know, the war ended quick. You know, when we went in there, Saddam's army took off their uniforms within the first 4 days, you know, and I think that was part of his plan. But the Bush administration failed miserably because they had no exit plan. You know, his generals came in and they said, you know, we didn't talk about an exit plan. We don't have an exit plan. So right now they're trying to pull together the exit plan afterwards.
Right.
So I really don't see any way out of it. You know, it's going to take.
Exit plan.
Yeah, the Democrats can't come up with some miracle pill or some miracle legislation to get us out of there overnight. It's just not going to happen. And I mean, just like the Republicans, they lied their way in there, and they're still lying to stay in there, because they knew that we didn't have an exit plan. They knew that they weren't going to get us out of there, but they said they were going to, and they said that they could, knowing that they couldn't.
Right.
No other way around it.
Well, I don't think there's an exit strategy, but I don't think that's a mistake that they made. I think that's something that was intentional. The one thing that, you know, we learn once we study the way this government acts is that they don't do anything without an aim and without a purpose.
Yes.
And so I think that, you know, we can go way back to 9/11, which gave them an excuse to go into Afghanistan and to level that area that was once being warred on between the Afghans and the Soviets.
Right.
But what that fight was about was that the Soviets wanted to run a pipeline from the Soviet Union, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan, and all those stands up in Russia, through Afghanistan into the Caspian Sea, so they could have an outlet for oil through that particular area. And they weren't able to do it because they were never able to stave off the Taliban. Taliban just fought too hard under, of course, Osama bin Laden, who at that time was the U.S. partner.
Absolutely.
They friend. But 9/11 gave them an excuse to go in and do the same thing, except for under the U.S.'s name, to run that pipeline. And the second stage of that war, and this we've been given by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, was to establish a base in the Middle East that will be permanent.
Absolutely.
And the only one that was most eligible was Iraq. And
Absolutely.
Saddam Hussein. So he was that convenient dictator that they felt that they could get rid of and the world wouldn't go into an uproar. But they don't have an exit strategy because they intend to be there forever. And as a matter of fact, you know, intelligence reports are saying that they're building a base larger than any other base that they have in any other part of the Middle East, including Qatar, including Kuwait, any of those places. They don't have a base that compares to this one that they're building in Iraq right now. So I think that was definitely their motives, like you said, all about money.
Right.
And establishing themselves as a power in that region, because if you're not an oil power in the 21st century, you're not a superpower.
Right. Well, I think you bring up a whole bunch of good points. And one point that you bring up, and you asked earlier, well, you know, why did the American people, or why did we back the invasion of Iraq? A lot of it was the emotion from 9/11.
Absolutely.
They played on our emotions from 9/11 because we wanted to get somebody for taking down those buildings, for striking,
yes, sir,
for striking, you know, our American soil. So they played on our emotions and really shifted the whole thinking, because we knew who did that. We knew it was Osama, but they let us play on our emotions and shift that emotions and that anger right over to Iraq. And then second, you're right, they don't have any plans of good. They'll never leave Iraq.
Right.
Just like they haven't left any country we've ever invaded.
Exactly.
You know, we still have military bases in China, you know, in Vietnam. We're never going to leave those places, and we're never going to leave Iraq. You're absolutely right about that. And that's another thing, that they just want that to go under quietly. They don't want the media to get that out to the people, to the public, you know, and then gradually we'll know about it, but they don't want to just be forthright and truthful and say that, hey, you know, we're going to be in Iraq just like we've been in every other country that we've invaded to the end of time. We won't ever leave there.
And it's so interesting that, you know, Mr. Bush's whole administration were what they call neocons or neoconservatives, and that Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, all of them were either oil men or defense contractor men.
Absolutely.
You know, so as the war wages on, they continue to profit on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
While people are losing their lives. Now, in the article, Brother made a comparison between the Iraq War and Vietnam.
Yes.
You see any similarities?
Well, yeah, like I said, we're going to always be in Iraq, just like we're in Vietnam. And I think, again, they played on the emotions of the people to get us to back their war, because they used the Vietnam War to say, look how we treated our soldiers when they came home. They went and fought for us. Whether we thought it was right or wrong, they went to fight for us in the Vietnam War. And, you know, more Americans lost their lives in that war than any other war.
Right.
And, you know, they played on their emotions to back the troops and to back the war. But really what they were doing, they played our emotions to back the troops, but really they were playing our emotions to back the war, which we didn't want to do. We didn't want to back the war. We don't want to back being Iraq in Iraq. We want to back our troops. So I think they played on our emotions as far as the Vietnam era with that stigmatism of let's support our troops and not shun them when they come home. Let's be by their side. Let's not you know, talk about them publicly while they're over there giving their lives. Let's not, you know, be over in the United States dogging them and saying they're bad soldiers, because they're not bad soldiers. They're being led by bad people.
Right. Final question, and we'll move on to the next piece. Richard Nixon was impeached for stealing files at Watergate.
Okay.
Bill Clinton was brought up on articles of impeachment for getting his man, you know, under the table.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This man told 900. Wait, I won't put all 935 on him. He told 260 lies leading up to the Iraq War. Over nearly 4,000 American soldiers have lost their lives. Countless Iraqis, tens of thousands of Iraqis have lost their lives because of this war.